We start with breaking news from Canada, where the governing Liberals have elected a new leader. Mark Carney will be the next Prime Minister of Canada after he won the race to lead the party. He will replace Justin Trudeau at a time the country is under increasing threat from Donald Trump's tariffs and annexation warnings. Carney is the former central banker who guided North America and the UK through the financial crisis. He will be only the second Prime Minister in Canadian history without a seat in Parliament. Let's speak now to Toronto-based political commentator Sean Mallen. So tell us a little bit about Mark Carney, the new designated Prime Minister and leader of Canada's Liberal Party.
Hi, Aaron. Well, as you indicated, he made his name in international finance. He's got degrees from Harvard, from Oxford. He was the head of the Bank of Canada, the Canada Central Bank. And following that, very unusual, he was also the head of the Bank of England. So he was in charge of the central bank in Canada during the 2008-2009 financial crisis, head of the Bank of England during the whole Brexit troubles that they had to go through. But as you indicated, he has never been a politician. He's never run for a seat, never run for anything until this moment. But the Liberal Party sees him as a potential savior after many, many months, more than a year of really dismal polls that indicated they were headed for really an historic defeat. But Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was ultimately forced out of office. He was just his popularity had collapsed. He was losing cabinet ministers, and he was ultimately forced to resign, touching off this race. He will remain Prime Minister for a couple of days until Mr. Carney is sworn in. And it is expected that Mr. Carney will very shortly, perhaps before the end of the month, put Canada into a federal election campaign. Now, until recently, that would be a campaign that the opposition Conservative Party was heavily expected to win. They've been leading polls by as much as 20 points or more. But since the resignation of Mr. Trudeau and since the rise of Mr. Carney as a potential alternative, suddenly it's a race. And of course, it is a race dominated by what's happening in American politics. Donald Trump's ongoing trade wars that he's launched against Canada, putting on tariffs, taking off tariffs, putting on tariffs again, and now again temporarily at least paused the largest tariff hit against Canada. Mr. Trump has now dominated the political conversation here. Mr. Carney, in his acceptance speech, spent a lot of time talking about Donald Trump, cited that Canada needs to work towards building relationships with reliable trading partners. He underlined the word reliable. Of course, the United States dominates trade with Canada, but given what's happened with Mr. Trump over the past few weeks, that's suddenly no longer a sure thing. He also made a point of saying, we will never be part of America, never be part of the United States, as we prefer to say, in Canada, because, of course, Mr. Trump has been openly musing about Canada becoming the 51st state, denigrating Mr. Trudeau as the governor of Canada. So we're entering now into a fascinating political time in Canada. We have a new prime minister taking office shortly, who's never been a politician before, shortly into an election campaign, when relations with our largest trading partner and massive neighbor are suddenly in question.
Well, Justin Trudeau even went so far as to say that Canada faces an existential challenge from the United States. So do you think we are about to see a fundamental shift in policy from Ottawa?
Very likely in terms of trade relations, going to be seeking more expansive trade relations with the European Union and other nations around the world who might be more reliable partners to wean ourselves off the heavy reliance on trade with the United States. And the existential part has to do with Trump's musings about Canada as the 51st state. It has led to really an unprecedented in my lifetime rise in Canadian nationalism. Canadians tend to be rather reserved about our patriotism, but suddenly people are buying Canadian, shunning American goods. Many provinces have been pulling off American bourbon and American wine off the shelves of our stores here. One of many reactions to Mr. Trump's denigration of Canada.
Now, as you touched on there, Trump's pressure campaign against Canada seems to be shifting support away from the Conservatives. So do you think the Liberals can continue to capitalize on that moving into the general elections?
Well, we shall see. The Liberals have been in power. It would have been 10 years this fall. That's a line of won 3 elections. That's a long time in Canadian political terms. And there was a great deal of weariness with the Liberal Party. But it seems the recent polls seem to indicate that the weariness was pretty much focused on Justin Trudeau. So now they have a new face there. So it gives them at least the possibility, at least to make it a reasonable fight in this upcoming election. But as I said, Mr. Carney is untested as a politician. The opposition leader, Pierre Poilievre, has been an elected leader since he was in his mid-20s. He's in his 40s now, and is a very effective opposition leader, really hard-edged, combative, and a very effective politician and communicator in his own right. Mr. Carney also is not only untested as an elected politician. In Canada, it's essential that someone running for Prime Minister have facility in French as well as English. And Mr. Carney's French has been pointed out to be a little bit shaky. So when he gets on the debate stage with Francophone leaders who have more facility in French, he's going to be challenged. So at least it looks like a race, which 2 months ago did not look like it was going to be the case.
All right, that was political commentator Mallen in Toronto. Thank you very much for your analysis.